A simple quarrel with a neighbor resulted in a serious allegation that she is a witch. Although a ritual declared her not guilty of being a witch, her accuser still chopped off her hand and fled. This is the story of Asibi Dut, a woman in the Northeast region who is pleading with the Ghana Police Service to give her justice. Jojo Kobna brings you snippets of his latest documentary, Finding the Witch Hunters.
Lady picked a quarrel with me, and her son accused me of being a witch. Later, the people in the village took me to the Gambaga witch camp. They performed rituals which showed I was not a witch, so I came back to the village. The boy came to attack me at home. He was aiming for my neck, but I blocked it with my hand and he chopped it off. He fled, and to date, the police say they can't find him. I was home alone. I was cooking when someone charged at me. He was aiming for my neck, but I saw it fast enough and instinctively blocked it with my hand. So my hand got chopped off.
That is the story of Asibi Dut, a 40-year-old woman who is a resident of Sakogu in the Northeast region of Ghana. For the past 8 years, she has been living without one hand. Her woes started when a young man accused her of being a witch. Asibi said a lady in her community picked a quarrel with her, and subsequently, the lady's son accused her of being a witch. Asibi took the accusation lightly, but realized the seriousness of the allegation when people in the community sent her to the witch camp in Gambaga to test whether she was a witch or not. The way a chicken died would determine her fate and the entire course of her life. In northern Ghana, when you are accused of witchcraft, you have to bear the full cost of the ritual. So Asibi took care of the full cost, and the ritual confirmed that she was not guilty.
I was cleared of witchcraft allegations. The fowl said I was not guilty. The chief then asked me to go back to Sakogu and ordered that we use dialogue to settle our differences.
Asibi, who was 8 months pregnant, said she thought she was free, but the young man had other plans.
I was home alone. I was cooking when someone charged at me. He was aiming for my neck. He tried to cut it off with a machete, but I saw it fast enough and instinctively blocked it with my hand. So my hand got chopped off. He then fled. To date, the police say they can't find him.
Asibi was left broken.
As soon as we say you are a witch, even small children can beat you. They can do anything to you, nobody cares.
She had now mastered ways of living independently and taking care of her son. Her husband also traveled to southern Ghana and never gets in touch with her. She feels pains when the remaining hand is not covered. She cooks and does many other chores with one hand. She feels the young man who chopped off her hand had stolen her joy in life.
I am really pained. I am hurt. Now I can't do anything. And the boy who did this to me is free.
Asibi is yearning for two things: money to start her own business, and also for the police to track down the perpetrator, who is still on the run.
So that's the story of Asibi Dut, and that is coming up in our latest Hotline documentary, The Witch Hunters, produced by Jojo Kobna. Producer of the documentary joins me in the studio. Jojo, a very sad story there, but is this the only story we can expect in the documentary?
No, we have quite a number of stories in that particular documentary. We have quite a number of characters. There's this character, a 61-year-old Mary Ibrahim. Last year, August, she was attacked by a group of young men. And the reason they attacked her was because they said she was successful in her business. And so she was using juju, and so they came for her and they really cut her. They cut a part of her face, they were trying to cut her neck, they cut one part of her fingers off, 2 fingers off. So her side was cut, she was badly butchered. It was like just slicing her, a human being that is just being sliced, I mean, at the butcher shop. Fortunately, after months of treatment, she recovered. And unfortunately, the most unfortunate thing is that this particular case was settled out of court, and the woman is very, very, very pained. We have another child who talked in her sleep. She's in the Gambaga witch camp, talked in her sleep, and that child, they called her a witch. They went to the witch camp, slaughtered a fowl. The fowl said she was not a witch, but they still kept her. The child.
So several cases of abuse that have not been well treated, and the people are just calling for justice.
Exactly. We have several cases like that. The people are calling for justice. The people know the accusers. The people know the people who harm them, the people who threaten them, the perpetrators. But the state has not done much to protect them.
Jojo, thank you very much. But as we talk about this, we have another report of torture of another woman accused of witchcraft in northern Ghana. The chief of Nyankpanduri in the northeast region is demanding the arrest of a group of individuals who connived with a fake Togolese witch doctor to torture and extort large sums of money from over 20 elderly women in the town.
This is Mary Dut, an 80-year-old resident of Nyankpanduri who has been accused of being a witch. This location is a notorious torture camp for witchcraft allegation victims and mentally ill persons who are dumped here mostly by family relatives. Run by a former tribal warlord, the camp is found in the Togolese community of Barkosi, which is less than 10 kilometers from the Bumpurgu border post at Yamburi in the Bumpurgu Nyankpanduri district. This woman has not committed any crime, but one of the women at the camp mentioned her during her false confession. In this video footage, the 80-year-old woman is being made to go through the purification ceremony to prove her innocence or otherwise. A ritual which often involves the slaughter of chickens, where the innocence or guilt of the accused is then determined by the final poster of the chicken as it dies. However, this is done differently among members of the Bimoba ethnic tribe. In this process, this white fowl is tied to this magical stick. Mary, the accused, is made to hold the stick while reciting the following incantations. If I am a witch, this fowl should die. If I am a witch, this fowl should die. After a while, the fowl is loosened up to fall from the stick. Mary, after the process, was asked not to leave the camp until her family could pay a fine of 3,000 Ghana cedis for her exorcism. There were several other women detained at the camp waiting to go through this traumatic process and to pay hefty fines before gaining their freedom. They were, however, rescued by personnel of the Togolese army who raided the camp and arrested the witch doctor following a complaint filed by a victim relative to the Ghanaian embassy in Togo. Upon their return to Nyankpanduri, the women were attacked and their houses vandalized by the accusers who insist they must be banished. Mary has since been taken out of the town due to safety concerns, but her daughter Fusina Dut, who was with her at the camp, spoke to Joy News.
Ma, yokotu omo hono na mani ye 7. Ma ye yokotu omo ho, na omo ye 7. Eno omo yi baako ansana yen yekurom hafo na omo de omo koye no. Na omo ye 6.
We met 7 other women at the camp. My mother arrived together with 6 others, but later over 20 women were also forced here. The room where the women sleep has no door.
That is Ilyasu Tanko's report. Ilyasu joins us with some more on this. Ilyasu, we know that she has been taken out of the town for safety, but what has the police said about this? Has it been reported, first of all, to the police?
Well, yes, Ernest, the case has been reported to the Bunkrugu-Nakwanduri District Police. But my understanding is that because of the number of suspects involved and the fact that the police does not have the personnel, these suspects are still in the town, still going about threatening these women. In fact, Mary is not the only woman who was sent to, she's not the only woman who was sent to this torture camp in Togo. There were over 20 women, all of them from the Bunkrugu township, forced to this torture camp by this group of suspects. And when they returned after the arrest of the native doctor or the witch doctor, when the women returned, the accusers attacked them, vandalized their houses. And as I speak to you now, the women tell me that they are unable to go out since the incident happened because the accusers still follow them, attack them anytime they see them outside. And so, yes, the matter has been reported to the police in the district, but no arrest has been made yet.
You talk about the chief calling for the arrest of the perpetrators, but this practice has been going on for a while now. Is the chief not aware that this is something that has been happening? And what have they been doing as traditional leaders to stop this?
Well, my understanding is that the chief is much aware of the practice. And when I met him, I asked him, he said that he's been asking the people to take the suspect to Gambaga, but they refused and they took them to Togo. And my understanding is also is that when the people, when the women, after the arrest of the witch doctor, when the women returned, the accusers summoned them before the chief palace, and the chief then asked the women to go back to the place. But when I asked the chief, he denied these allegations and said that he has always maintained that anytime someone is suspected of being a witch, the person should be taken to Gambaga. So the chief is much aware of this practice happening in the town.
Ilyasu, thank you very much for the update. Let's speak to Haji Alamnatu, who works with the Rights Campaign Group, Sogtaga, based in the northern region capital, Tamale. She too has worked for years rescuing women accused of witchcraft. Madam, thank you very much for your time here on Joy News Prime. What are the challenges standing in the way of people like yourself and your organization calling for justice for accused women?
Good evening and good evening to our listeners and viewers. This is a sad situation, and one of the challenge is that this woman, as you see, locked up inside, cannot come out. What it means is that if they were doing any livelihood activities, it has come to an end. We cannot even guarantee their safety because in as much as this case has been reported, how is the police guaranteeing their safety even as they stay in the community? Their property has been vandalized. Who is talking to these women? They are left in the mercy of their perpetrators. One other thing is that our traditional authorities need to work with law enforcement agencies. There's no need to say that any accusation must end up in a witch camp. The police is there because one findings we are getting is that some of the time when the accusations start and the police get on time, then we see that the situation becomes better. But many times it ends up, if you look at this case, for example, it's even gone beyond our borders. And so there seems not to be even motivation to go ahead and report because for the perpetrators, communities know where they are, yet they are not owning up to support. Last year, we woke up to the Kafaba case. Yes. It is still being dragged. We need to see that the suspects, are prosecuted immediately. But when these cases are dragged and bails are given and all of that is given, eventually the victim, loses the motivation to continue to even go to court. That is if it ends up in court, because many of these cases are withdrawn and are asked to settle at home. And this will let others to continue. For those who are lucky and the cases are in the courts, how is government supporting them to pursue it? How is government supporting them? I still make reference to the Kafaba case. The case is being held in Tamale, and the victims' children have to commute from Salaga and back to Tam. Sometimes they go and the defense lawyer is not there, and they have to commute back. Now, who is taking care of all of this? Eventually, they'll be left to settle with anything. And then before we wake up, another incident happens.
Madam, I'm grateful for your time. You and your team have been calling for justice for some of these women, but you seem to have impediments your way from law enforcement agencies, as well as lack of legal support for some of the accused. We'll be following up on these stories, and we'll bring you more in our latest Hotline documentary, Witch Hunters, produced by Jojo Kobna.